What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from the Quartering, and hey, the old format. Well, just because I work 7 days a week doesn't mean I make my editors work 7 days a week. I do hope that you are enjoying the higher production value. The editors are seeing your comments in the comment section. They're seeing all the likes on the videos. So if you keep that up, they'll keep their jobs. Definitely freeing me up now to do more. If you haven't noticed, they also have allowed me to produce Quartering Daily, which has its own channel, which is linked on my main page here. You don't have to subscribe to it because I have a playlist right here. But if you want notifications, then I would. The Quartering Daily is all of my shows for the day, not just the Quartering, but also Midwestly, put together in one nice long 1 hour continuous show for those people that want to just listen to it, or people who are at work. Many of you asked for this, and I thought putting it on a different channel would be easier than muddying up the feed because a lot of people like stuff bite-sized. So the Quartering Daily is here. Subscribe if you want to get notified. These videos go up around 8 o'clock at night, my time, but it includes all of the videos from the day. Mondays will include the weekend episodes too. Now, everything's hot around Star Wars, The Rise of Skywalker. And if you saw my first video today, which I hope you did, and if you didn't, make sure you check the channel and you watch that. China didn't like it. It softened greatly. And the question is, why did China not like it? Was it because they weren't interested in The Rise of Skywalker? Or was it because they didn't like The Last Jedi so much? I think it's probably a combination of the two. It's difficult to know for sure. But certainly, when you see a movie as divisive as The Last Jedi, I know some of you liked it. If you were one of the ones that didn't like it, you're obviously going to be less likely to see the finale. Now, the generally accepted Hollywood expectations for trilogies is as follows. The first one's going to be the biggest. The second's always soft. And the third is also big. So usually the finale will do better than either of the first two episodes, simply because you can see how it ends with missing the middle episode. Or maybe you go back and you catch the middle episode on DVD or streaming, and then you want to see how it ends. There are a lot of people that saw, for example, Avengers Endgame and didn't see every single Avengers film, and you could still enjoy it. That's part of the recipe that Disney has put together. Now, the box office numbers are in for the U.S. market, and The Rise of the Skywalker is set to perform the worst of all three. Now, media is placing this blame currently on franchise fatigue, but I think it's a combination of both franchise fatigue and fandom alienation. Now, when you look at the fan reviews for The Rise of Skywalker, they're still pretty high. Last time I checked, they were at 86, 87% or something like that. And that's solid. Now, you got to remember, though, that those first reviews are going to be the super fans, people that won tickets, people that got early previews on Wednesday or Thursday. So with 20,000 reviews in, it sits at an 86% for the fan score. Now, most hardcore fans I talked to came out feeling like, meh, it was better than The Last Jedi, which isn't exactly something you want to, put on a gravestone. But I would think that would lead towards a higher overall sentiment about the movie. A bar so low that you would trip on it on The Last Jedi for many people, which reviewed at a fan score of something like 40 or 50%, if I remember correctly. I suspect that when it's all said and done, The Rise of Skywalker will probably be in the high 70s, which is probably reasonable, assuming how many normie Star Wars fans are out there that just don't care about the drama. I mean, in a lot of ways, I envy them. They don't care about the Hollywood stuff. They just want to eat their popcorn and enjoy a film. And God bless them. I think that's cool. And if you're one of those people, don't ever let anyone make you feel bad about it. Now, the title of this video may be, it tanks at the box office or worst of trilogy. And it is. But to put things in perspective, like I've said since Jump Street, the film is still going to make $1 billion doll hairs. I mean, it's still going to be a multi-billion dollar, or a full billion-dollar franchise. There's no doubt in my mind. I mean, what are people going to do over Christmas when they've got nothing else to do? They're going to go see a Star Wars movie. Now, Rise of the Skywalker Friday audiences didn't like Cats much more than critics, giving the musical a C+ on CinemaScore, while Rise of the Skywalker is the first recent Star Wars pick to not earn an A. The CinemaScore is kind of a complex but fair way to look at films, the reactions, and it's the first film in the recent trilogy. I think it had a B+. It's not like it got a D, but it's newsworthy. J.J. Abrams' Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker soared to $90 million on Friday, putting the tentpole on course for a domestic debut in the $190 range. You can see here they aims for $185 million, which is gigantic. Now, the budget for this film is probably north of $500 million. The marketing budget, again, also north of $500 million. So, you know, I'm guessing that you're close to $1 billion between production and marketing and all that stuff. So, you know, making $1 billion on this film probably doesn't feel that good. But remember, it's also designed to sell merch. It's designed to sell little droid robots. It's designed to sell Legos. It's designed to sell tickets to Disneyland, to Galaxy's Edge. It's designed to sell video games. So the movies, in a way, are the tide that raises all boats. Not even the Force is immune to some sequel fatigue, despite the latest Star Wars pick being billed as a finale in the Skywalker saga. 2 years ago, Rian Johnson's Last Jedi, which divided fans, opened at $220 million. So if it ends up, you know, at $185 million, you're talking about nearly $40 million less than The Last Jedi. And a lot of that blame, I will argue, lies on the shoulders of Rian Roundhead Johnson. Preceding that, by then record, $248 million for TFA. So The Force Awakens opens at $248. People had waited 10 years. Everyone wanted to see it. Not everyone liked it. They went and saw The Last Jedi, opened to about, $30 million less? And now this, $40 million less. So not only is it less and less and less, but the margin in which it's less keeps increasing. But then again, as the article goes on to say, nevertheless, $190 million would still be a huge number, as well as repping the third best December launch of all time behind The Force Awakens and Last Jedi. Friday's haul, which included $40 million in Thursday previews, is likewise high up on the list of all-time biggest first days for any time of the year, or number 6, according to ComScore. Movies hitting the big screen before Christmas can usually enjoy strong multiples during the final 2 weeks of the year, putting less pressure on the opening number. Potential challenges facing Skywalker include mixed reviews and a B+ CinemaScore, in which it's the first Star Wars pick made by Lucasfilm and Disney to not earn an A. Exit scores on post-track are more promising. Elsewhere, Universal working titles, Christmas movie Cats is looking to be a disappointing 4th place behind Jumanji, Frozen 2, with a projected $8 million weekend, well behind projections. Now, when you look at Mendel more on here, I kid. Mendelsohn is a great troll. He gets decent traffic to his articles because he knows how to write. But he also talks about so much for Star Wars fatigue. The Force is strong with Walt Disney and Lucasfilm Star Wars saga one more time. There's J.J. Abrams in The Rise of Skywalker, starring Daisy Ridley, Adam Driver, John Boyega, Carrie Fisher, Oscar Isaac. Looks to earn around $190 million for its domestic opening weekend. After 2 years of huffing and puffing and handwriting around The Last Jedi controversies and alleged Star Wars fatigue, Lucasfilm and Disney Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker opened like a Star Wars movie. The J.J. Abrams threequel earned $90 million on Friday, including $40 million on 30 previews. Comparatively, though, The Last Jedi earned $45 million on Thursday, so 45 down to 40, and $104 million on opening day. So again, down from The Last Jedi by 15 million, 15%. The Force Awakens earned $57 million, so we're down more than 20% on that number, and $120 million on Friday, down $30 million on that, almost 25%. It's still the 8th biggest single day gross sans inflation, behind the $91 million opening day for Harry Potter. The film earned 44% of its opening day via previews, which is less front load than The Force Awakens, Harry Potter, and Deathly Hallows. He goes on to say, my own subjective misgivings aside, Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker is receiving generally mixed negative reviews. It's currently at 57% rotten with a 6.23 out of 10 average critic score at Rotten Tomatoes. It has a 54% at Metacritic with 36 of 54 reviews explicitly mixed. The Rotten Tomatoes average critic score, a far more accurate measurement of critical consensus, is essentially tied with Solo, a Star Wars story, despite that film's much higher 70% fresh rating. The Rise of Skywalker isn't getting horrifically banned by critics in general any more than The Phantom Menace did in '99. There were plenty disappointed with critics that summer, but the consensus was less #worst movie ever and more that wasn't nearly as good as I was hoping. Just because I loathed Rise of Skywalker doesn't mean everyone else did. And I think that's a fair point to end on. Certainly, Rise of Skywalker is going to please hardcore Star Wars fans and people who are just looking for a popcorn film. But certainly on the graph of production, on the graph of performance at the cinema, Disney isn't going to be happy seeing every subsequent film they put out doing worse. If you run that out, the next film potentially in the series will be a disaster, and they've got to right the ship. The idea with the trilogy isn't to scare off more and more fans every single time. It's to grow your audience. Now, we don't know what this is doing to theme park sales, even though we know that Galaxy's Edge ticket sales are disappointing. We don't know what this is doing to merch sales, although we know over the past several years, merch sales have been disastrous. We don't know what this is doing to, t-shirt sales and new fans buying their Star Wars shirts at Hot Topic for $45. We don't know. Maybe the new normies have big fat wallets and they're spending a bunch of money on these movies. It's difficult to say, but the box office numbers aren't great. But as we see, out of the 20,000, now remember that there's 200,000 reviews on average for Star Wars movies. I predict this one will have at least 150,000. So certainly you could see this drop below 80 or go above 90. But based on large reviews like Angry Joe's and Jeremy Yon's, I think where you're yet to see people who are on the fence about this movie, they weren't going to forage out on opening day or they didn't buy their tickets. But I suspect many people will still end up seeing this movie because it's a Star Wars movie after all. We'll have to see how this number changes. I hope you enjoyed this video. We'll talk to you again real soon.